Good morning to you on this Wednesday, May the 6th today. Our devotion is entitled Justification and Justice, still in the generous justice section here. James 2, verses 14 and 17. What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds? Can such faith save them? In the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. When we come to the New Testament book of James, we find what at first appears to be a contradiction of Paul, who wrote that Christians are justified freely by his grace, Romans 3:24, and justified by faith apart from the works of the law, apart from works, Romans 3:28 and 4:6. The contradiction is only apparent. While a sinner can get into relationship with God by only faith, Paul, the ultimate proof that you have saving faith is the changed life that true faith inevitably produces, according to James. To bring Paul's and James's teaching together, we can say we are saved by faith alone, but not by a faith that remains alone. True faith will always produce a changed life. However, James does not merely say that true faith will change one's life in general. If you look at someone without adequate resources and do nothing about it, James teaches, your faith is dead. It is not really saving faith. So, what are the quote unquote works he is talking about? He is saying that a life poured out in deeds of service to the poor is the inevitable sign of any real, true, justifying gospel faith. Grace makes you just. If you are not just, you've not truly been justified by faith. All the ingredients. This is where it's the same picture in my mind here as I read those words to making your favorite food. There's a recipe involved, and it needs a little bit of this and maybe a lot of that, and it has to get all balanced out. That's very much what I feel is being said here through James. There are parts to the recipe. Yes, there's faith, and yes, there's works. But if you don't put them together in the recipe, you're not gonna. It's not gonna be well. It's quote unquote not gonna taste very good. In other words, we're not gonna enjoy it as much as we do when all the recipe parts are there. And justification and justice is what we need. We need to not just say we believe and say we have faith. It needs to be seen. Just by saying that, who are we persuading? Who are we um, convincing in who we are and what we? Oh yeah, I have faith. I have faith. Yep, I believe in Jesus. Yeah, I believe in God. All those different things that people say, trying to show that they have faith, but how changed and transformed is their life? How changed and transformed is their life? That's what people are looking for. That's what people really want to check out. If you claim to be a follower of Jesus, they begin to look you over, not physically, spiritually, how we use our lives, how we share with those in need what we have, what we can give to them, and whether we do or don't, that's how they will judge us. Very much like Matthew 25, as much as you've done it under the least of these, you've done it to me. And Jesus, of course, has those two groups that he puts through the ringer. Um, I was this, I was this, I was this, he says, and then you didn't do anything about it. You're the goats. You don't get in. Then for another group, he says, I was this, I was this, I was this, and you came to my aid. You helped me. And what you did, you don't realize this. I feel like he's saying, you don't realize this, but when you help those in need, you were really helping me. And that is evidence, James would say, of faith and works put together. Not faith over here, works over here, or vice versa, and they stand alone. No, they got to go together. If we're going to convince anybody who knows us of what our true spiritual status is, they're going to need to see both of those things. They'll need to see our humility. They'll need to see our grace that we're willing to give to others. They need to see how we spend our time and how we spend our resources. Do we help others in need? Or do we just, the traditional thing, be warmed and be fed? I'll pray for you. Yeah, well, you could have answered that prayer by giving them a coat, giving them some money to get food, whatever the case may be. That's justification and justice. We're justified in the faith that we have that lives itself out in works. And it draws it all together. That's justice. That's freely, it's been given to us. Jesus tells his followers, freely you've received, freely give. And that's how we need to live. If we want to convince others around us, family members, neighbors, co-workers, whoever they might be, if we want them to be convinced that we are the real deal, then there's got to be works and faith. Many people think they're going to get to heaven on their works. Oh, I've been really nice. I donated money in the office for that, and all those different kinds of things people say to try and pretty themselves up for us, for others to see them and consider them. But that's not the way the kingdom works. It's changed and transformed lives that prove that we have given Jesus lordship over our lives. And if we want to see our loved ones, if we want to see our friends, if we want to see anybody else around us come to faith in Christ, we need to set the example in what we do and how we do it. Blessings to you today on this Wednesday.